the biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel.
Well, Trump's ceasefire plan quickly blew up in his face, which led to one of the more memorable media moments as Trump actually directly called out Israel in a way that I have not seen before. So in this video, I'm going to get to that clip as well as what happened with the ceasefire, as well as a report later on here that appears very optimistic, at least in a couple sentences, about the potential future of this ceasefire in a way that I feel is somewhat delusional. But hey, let's take whatever optimism we can here. So Global News reporting, this was yesterday. Trump says Iran-Israel ceasefire to be phased in over the next 24 hours. This phase-in was rather interesting, as according to Trump, fighting will continue for the next 6 hours into Tuesday morning local time, at which point Iran will begin its side of the ceasefire. Israel will join 12 hours later. So even though Israel were the ones that started this entire thing, Iran has to agree to a ceasefire first for 12 hours before Israel does. What do you think happened in those 12 hours leading up to Israel's ceasefire? Well, I think you can guess. In the hours before the declaration of a ceasefire, Israel carried out some of its most intense airstrikes on Tehran yet. Obviously. You give Israel an inch, they take a mile. Which led to this truth social from Trump. The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. Well, apparently there was a plan to violate it, as Israel was reporting that there were 2 missiles launched from Iran, while Iran was denying that they launched missiles after the ceasefire. Of course, this was going to happen. These conflicting reports. So in response to this apparent missile that may have been launched, may have not been launched, regardless it didn't hit anything, they were going to bombard Iran again, post-ceasefire. This led to this truth, with Trump freaking out, Israel, do not drop the bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. They apparently did bring them home. This leads to these unexpected comments this morning from Donald Trump.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
All right. There are 3 takeaways I have from this clip here, and then I'll get to a couple of reactions as well as the optimistic view from at least one media outlet on this ceasefire. But first point, notice that Trump is the one to change the media narrative here. So it's really hard to hear because they're interviewing him in front of a helicopter. Why do you keep doing interviews in front of helicopters? Why do they do this? It's so annoying. As somebody who, you know, is educated in audio and video and went to school for this stuff, stop recording interviews in front of helicopters. It's the worst. But the reporter asks him, you know, how do you feel about Iran violating the ceasefire? He's the one to bring up the fact that, hey, sure, that maybe they violated it, but Israel violated the ceasefire. They bombarded Iran in the first 12 hours when that was not a time to do that. So he's pointing out how Israel clearly escalated the situation here, which is a comment you don't normally see from any politician, let alone the president. It was good to hear that. I'll get to why I think that's the case. But so changing the narrative up here, I think, is a step in the right direction if that continues. But the second point, there's at least one other person in the room there that is influencing him, that knows, at least semi-knows what is going on, has a semi-grasp on reality, understands that Israel is the one that continues escalating, and maybe that person, whoever that person or people are beginning to get to him and are helping him understand here as example after example after example showcase that Israel cannot be trusted. The third point here is that this whole thing is clearly about his ego, because he was the one to apparently broker this deal. That's how it was reported. He doesn't want to seem as come out or appear as a failure. So he's coming out here criticizing Israel for making him look like an idiot, because that's what they did by violating this ceasefire, or at least the spirit of the ceasefire, with the bombarding of Iran. It shows Trump as the chump that he is, and he doesn't want to come off as the loser that he is and always has been. So his ego is damaged. He's out here making these comments in relation to that, because look, does Trump care about anything except for how he comes off? Like, he's the ultimate narcissist. There isn't a bigger narcissist in the world than Donald Trump. That is what drives everything he does. I don't think he's married to any specific policy. It's all about what he thinks is going to benefit him. But this is a sentiment also shared by Mehdi Hassan on Twitter. A reminder, this isn't Trump being tough on Israel. This is Trump being mad about his ego. Trita Parsi, who I often look to see what his thoughts are on situations in the Middle East. He has a big post here, but I want to share this part. This is exactly what Israel did with all of the ceasefires in Gaza and Lebanon. It treats all ceasefires as one-sided. The other side has to stop fighting while Israel is above the law and above all ceasefires. Trump is also starting to discover the core of the problem. Israel doesn't want peace and doesn't want to allow the U.S. to stay out of the war Israel unnecessarily started. Bang on. Yasha Arli sharing this. President Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One that he does not want to see regime change in Iran because it creates chaos. So even though there has been so many back and forths over the past few days over what Trump wants or what's coming out of the Trump camp, that it's hard to know where they actually stand, because I'm not sure if they know where they stand. But as of right now, it appears they do not want to see regime change in Iran. And this leads to this very optimistic view from Axios here. Trump declares victory as Israel acknowledge shaky ceasefire. So now that the ceasefire is indeed, apparently, in effect, as of recording this video, who knows what's going to happen when I turn the cameras off? But they write here, Trump's military intervention to destroy Iranian nuclear sites brought the U.S. to the precipice of a major conflict that 4 of his predecessors had sought to avoid. But it also set the stage for a ceasefire that, if holds, could usher in a fundamentally new era for the Middle East, its security, and its dominant powers. If it holds is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, no pun intended. Like, okay, look, I love to see optimism, but at the same time, we are in the wee hours of the ceasefire, thinking that this, if it holds, this could usher in a whole new era. I suppose maybe we should wait a couple days and see how things play out before we get too excited about the possibilities of peace. That said, hey, there's peace now. And that's what Donald Trump wants you to come away with, is that peace is here and he made it happen. But he wants you to forget the fact that he supported Israel striking Iran first, and then he himself struck Iran. Do not forget that we wouldn't even be talking about any of this if those initial things did not happen. And also, don't lose sight of the fact that Israel is continuing to commit a genocide in Gaza that continues to get ignored by this administration.